My name is Sami Kalliokoski. I am co-founder and creative director at Traplight. And I'm going to talk a little bit about social validation as player motivation in UGC games. And Traplight is a Finnish free-to-play UGC-focused mobile game studio founded in 2010. Now 26 people. And we used to do outsourcing for Relatedness and Supercell and other Finnish companies. And in 2013, we wanted to make a change and start doing our own IP and focus on UGC. Released Pikmin Racing in 2016, last year. It just turned 1 year and raised 4.8 million to merge social media and games. So this talk is about user-generated content-based games and content creators and what we learned from Pikmin Racing. And we're going to also shortly visit social media, social validation, and self-determination theory. And through those, we try to understand how do we motivate creative players in our upcoming games. So it's kind of a sneak peek to our internal research and development. How many of you have played Pikmin Racing? Not too many. All right. For those who haven't, it's a 2D platformer racer, social racer where all the levels are created by players. And since we just turned 1 year, we now have 8 million levels. And our top creators who create the most popular content, they have tens of thousands followers inside the game. So it starts to feel like a social media platform for us, at least. And what we learned from Pikmin Racing is you don't run out of content with that. And the players are insanely creative and produce high-quality content. So this was a pain point for us at first because the common understanding was that only a handful of players create content, and what little they create, it's not very good quality. Well, that we kind of find that it's not true. And user-generated content brings also value for the players also. So it's kind of they kind of get the ownership of the product. So they are co-developers in a sense. So it feels unique feeling having a loading screen with or at this level is made by this user with their Facebook pictures and everything. User-generated content is inherently social, and the players expect some kind of features that let them socially interact with each other, and also to interact with the content that they bump into in a game. So, and we use those features to rate the content also. So players do it for us. And when we are talking about UGC, we have to talk about content creators. So content creators are basically players who create content. Nothing special over there, but they have freed themselves from concerns of how do they look outside or to other players. So those creators want to have more items, different kind of crowns, decorative elements that they can place in unique ways in their levels. And so they want to express themselves better and distinguish themselves from other creators. And they want to get more players into their levels. They want to get likes, and they want to get feedback from the levels. So it's a social thing altogether. And the creators are more engaged, and they monetize better because of that engagement. Players who create only few levels, they spend less than an hour daily in our game. But those who have created like 30, 40 levels, they play like almost 2 hours daily. And that leads into better monetization of the creators. So 7% of our player base are creators, and they bring 35% of the revenue of the game. So, but this is not because we monetize the creators, it's just because of the engagement. And this is something that we want to concentrate in the future. So we want to focus more on creators, and we want to understand what drives them. We want to convert more players into creators, and we want to include creators in our target group. So we want to have creators taken into account from the pre-production stages of the game making, and also in marketing materials and promotions. And we also want to address the needs of creators. And in order to understand those, we looked into social media, because social media is also user-generated content. Well, most of the social medias are publication platforms with freedom to express themselves, users' identities. And for those platforms, the creation tools are external, so they cannot control the creation process at all. So they cannot limit the players. But although they make lots of money by selling our information, but they cannot actually monetize the content creation part. And in social media, when people express themselves, they post something out, they expect some kind of a feedback. And this feedback can be generalized as social validation. And in social media, this is just going this quickly through. We know, all of us know about social media, so it's just kind of a laying ground for the future. Social validation is mechanized in social media. Views, likes, comments, and everything. They are kind of mechanical versions of real life validation. And they have different kind of a value for content creators. Like comments generate more comments usually, and if somebody shares it, it kind of makes the original content more valuable and influential. So, but where does this social validation come? It comes from relating to other people. And when people experience meaningful experiences or understand what somebody meant with their post through empathy, it's kind of there is also validation, positive or negative, arises. So we use these understandings to define what type of user-generated content we want to have in our games, and we decided that we want to have self-expressive content that is validated socially. We want that content to be goal-oriented and kind of provided for other players. So it's not for the creators itself, like sandboxes or anything, but it's for other players. And creators should have a clear progression. That's not the. I think LinkedIn is only social media that has this kind of a progression or anything, but that's still kind of something different that we are aiming for. And creators should be rewarded through intrinsic motivations. For this, we took a look on SelfDetermination Theory. That is theory of motivation and inherent growth tendencies. And this is mainly because we found out that creating content is fun by itself. So it's creators don't need external motivations to do it. So we kind of we need to understand this much better. So the self-determination theory revolves around these intrinsic motivations that initiate action that is fun by itself, satisfying by itself, and these motivations are competence, autonomy, and relatedness. And yeah, there is great talks and papers written by Scott Rigby and Richard Ryans. Their model of player experience of need satisfaction is worth looking at. I will go through this very quickly. So there is competence, feeling of being effective, successful, good at, feeling of meaningful growth. Competence is used. It used to be on early days of gaming. It used to be about personal competence of mastering of controls in arcade games, and to achieve some high scores. And nowadays, in free-to-play mobile games, personal competence is minimized, almost disappeared completely, and it deals with mechanized competence like character power and well, kind of a competence that you can buy with money. Autonomy is by having meaningful, interesting opportunities for actions and choices, sense of being free from external control. So this used to be map exploration and choosing from different kind of goals and kind of a narrative that had multiple roads to the single endpoint. And in many free-to-play mobile games, Autonomy deals with character collectibles, decks, and strategic placing of buildings in city builders, for example. And also by designing which collectibles you use to craft or combine to gain more competence, mechanical competence. So competence and autonomy are really well kind of coupled in this modern free-to-play games. And then there is this relatedness, which means basically feeling of meaningful connection to other players. And in modern free-to-play games, almost all the successful ones have clans or alliances that enable people to collaborate and communicate. And they also teach players to rely on each other, to progress together. And relatedness can also be seen about relating to yourself through the actual state-of-the-art game. Game world, narrative, characters, you kind of reflect yourself through that, so it's kind of a relatedness also. So to generalize, the competence is mechanized power increased through Q action reward-driven progression loops. Autonomy is freedom in character combinations and city layouts to achieve power through tactical or strategic synergy. And relatedness is cooperation with other players to progress faster in competence. Competence, autonomy, and relatedness, they are such abstract terms, and we have to always look at them from the kind of case by case. So our case is creator loop and creator progression. So what we want to do is to look at this a little bit. Let's focus a little bit on creator side. So there is competence, and it deals with progression, and it deals with success. So with kind of a constant competence that free-to-play mobile games usually gives you, it will lead into confidence of doing good if you apply yourself somewhere. And this is very important for us because this confidence thing usually has to do with when people tell that I cannot draw, I'm not a creative person, they just kind of lack experience or confidence of applying themselves in certain tools, with certain tools usually. So confidence is important for us. Autonomy, basically from the social media's point of view, you have full autonomy to express yourself. We want to have self-expression in our content, so autonomy becomes self-expression. And relatedness is connected to social validation, so how your self-expression is seen by others, is it validated, and so on. So we build on top of this confidence, self-expression, and social validation, and we create this triangle out of this. So we see the self-expression or autonomy as we place our level editor or content creation tools over there. And what comes out from there is content, and goes for the community that does the social validation, and you get the feedback, and you grow more confident or not, depending on how well did you do. And this is the problem of our kind of a triangle over here. It's broken. There is no confidence. If there is no confidence, there is no self-expression, and then there is nothing. And what we do is we use extrinsic motivations to drive competence and to grow some confidence over there. So we give tasks to for players to play with these creation tools, and we don't. The content doesn't go to anybody, so it kind of we just use it to kind of tutor it out, and we use it to build up the confidence, and then we kick the social validation in and give the actual experience of getting real feedback. Well, all this loop kind of feeds into bigger loop. So it feeds into whenever you create something, you gain some experience points, and when you do social validation, you validate other people's content, you do social actions, you donate something, you create content and it gets validated, you gain points. And also in competence side, the tasks that are related with creation and tasks that are kind of daily quests, daily or events, creation events. All those kind of adapt to your creator progression. That will lead into ranks and achievements on competence side, tools and parts on self-expression. So this was something that was asked from our creators a lot. They asked from how can I have more tools? Can we have more colors, crowns, and whatever? Now we have a kind of a progression for them. Do this thing, and you get more tools. And always in a relatedness corner, there is this influence and audience part. So whenever you gain in ranks, you gain also bigger audience for your levels. You guarantee a certain amount of playtimes for your levels. And also we increase your social weight. So if you are a master creator, you can give out this master creator approves kind of a stamps and whatnot. And that's how we do it. Some takeaways on user-generated content games. There's not just one way to do it. But it's very beneficial for you to define yours and then see how it affects your game, because it's kind of it's just not having much autonomy in game. It affects how the game feels. Don't think user-generated content only as free content for you and gold and diamonds for creators, because it will ruin your free-to-play economy, and it's not the actual thing that the creators want. Of course, everybody wants gold and diamonds inside the game, but that's not the intrinsic motivation why people are creating. It's the social standing and social validation. And if you're creating a user-generated content-focused game, concentrate on creator relationship of creators and players. If you oppose the creator and player, it will destroy the self-expression. It will lead into optimization of power and trying to kind of kill each other. And well, then the self-expression is gone. For example, there are other relationships also. Also, fulfilling certain player needs are more important or beneficial for you than the others. So understand the difference between intrinsic and extrinsic motivations. Satisfaction of competence, autonomy, and relatedness will lead into intrinsic motivations where the action itself is a reward. And usually free-to-play games use extrinsic motivations to kind of lead players into the game. So it's kind of a, here are welcome gifts for you for next 7 days if you log in, and 30 days, and daily quests and tasks and these things. They are mechanized competence. They are not actual competence, but it's very good way to kind of lead players into game and then introduce some relatedness and autonomy components which leads into intrinsic motivations. All right, thank you. Any questions?
And I'm assuming that your company maintains ownership of all of the IP that's created. How do you do that, and what are some of the challenges you've encountered with your users based on that?
Yeah, well, basically, luckily we haven't bumped into problems with this thing, but there are common practices with the user-generated content games. There is certain kind of a EULA, and which kind of states that all the content that is created is property of Traplight, for example. But we don't kind of put that in the face of people, because they can. It's not something that they can generate money out of. So it's something that they get this social validation, social feeling of, and a creative feeling that they improve themselves. So there is. Luckily, we haven't bumped into this problem yet, and hopefully not never.
Excellent, thank you.
All right.
I was curious, like, what forms of UGC have you experimented with, and which types of UGC are like the most valuable in a mobile game?
if you look at from the monetary point of view, it seems that the most successful ones have been the ones where the players are matched with the creators in opposing ways, like Clash of Clans, for example. There is a huge amount of autonomy to set the city layout and then send out the troops and so on. So that's probably the most valuable from the monetary point of view. But then again, from the creative point of view, we have seen games where, like Roblox is a good example of a modding type of game. Minecraft also. So you have you create something for other players, and then they kind of get into it, and it leads players into this game developer mode, which sticks to their identity and gives it's co-creation with the players after that one. At the moment, we are experimenting with two different types of user-generated content. One is the one that I present over here. It's like creators creating something that other players experience. And another type that we are experimenting at the moment is kind of a more like co-creation type of thing, like creating together, having turns and creation, and it's more like a social media thing, and the creations are more like a narrative. So it's that's something that we are looking after at the moment.
Thanks.
All right.
All right. Thanks again, Sami.
All right.
Really
Thank you.